It's a circle for organic, honest, authentic, raw sharing. This is one thing that I believe has been kind of missing, especially during COVID and post-COVID era. There has been an increased isolation of women and mothers. And motherhood has become only about a to-do list of right things and wrong things. There is a beautiful substratum of what it means to be a person, a self, as well as a mother, with both its joys and terrors, everything, all the spectrum included. And this is the perfect time to open the space to invite Jessica, my dear friend, who has agreed to be part of this wisdom sharing. A solid person that I have experienced her presence as someone clear like fire. And we share a bond that's really special.
Thank you so much, Charnita, and thank you, everyone. Well, I have to say first that I'm super privileged to have this conversation with you. The moment you came up with the idea, I got really fascinated. So to have this closeness to what motherhood means to us, not as women, but as a society as well. And what are the different roles in motherhood that we have to fulfill as well. And basically, I'm super proud to be a mom. And I'm super proud to know so many strong women around me that are mothers as well. So thank you so much.
We would start with these questions. This list was chosen by Jessica. And so when she asks answers, I might put in things that I believe is important based on my journey. And we would try to give you the most important aspects of our lived journey as mothers. This is not prescriptive conversation. It's a conversation that intends to share what has been our journeys as mothers who are also migrants, and also what has been our experience of processing and integrating so many transitions as women who changed continents. With Jessica, she's parenting both a boy and a girl. I am parenting a boy. So our journeys with that. And if you have any specific questions and concerns, you can always ask later on or email me at perfectlifespot@gmail.com. So the first question that we hop on to is, what has been the biggest lesson of motherhood for you? And if you're already a mother and listening to this, you also feel inspired to share, I really invite you also to share in the latter part of the conversation. So Jessica, to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, this is such a big question, but what it came first to my mind, as you said, navigating in all these transitions, being a migrant, being a mom, being a full-time worker. The biggest thing that I got with me since day one, since I got my tiny little baby with me, it's the ego went away. That was a slap in my face. All my ego, as I consider ego, was literally a super big slap on I cannot control anything. This is going to be dynamic. This is going to be, I have to give all my love above all. It was a incredible lesson about patience. I know probably a lot of mothers out there understand how patience builds up when you have a newborn. And that was really a special thing because I've been always super, I have a lot of energy since I was a very tiny little girl. I was constantly burning energy, and I feel that I had all that. And with my baby, my first baby, all that pace had to come a way that I didn't understood. So my ego in my own personal journey was slashed. Like, what is going on? That was really fun. And above all that, like letting this ego just move away and be removed from my inner feelings and how to navigate all these, challenge of being a mom. I think I learned to, let things just flow. So I let my kids to be as free as possible, obviously with discipline and with routines and things like that. But I think I learned to control a little bit of this, giving my ego away to them. And that ended up like having two supernatural lovers, free souls that can conclude and do whatever they want. So that I think that's the biggest conclusion of what I have to say here.
For me, what I realized is that before I became a mother, I had many whole identities which had considerable degree of control, that I could control, design my life very consciously. And the moment I stepped into motherhood, it was as if I started to learn what it means to learn how to feel helpless, what it means to learn what is empathy, what is humanity, what is tenderness at a whole new level. There is this person for whom I wish the best in the world, and I can work towards creating solid conditions for happiness, health, well being, and yet I have no control to ensure that. I can't ensure that. So it was a huge lesson in helplessness, humility, and reconnecting with all the mothers out there who would have felt it before me and will feel after me. And specifically for me, since I had a preterm birth, the degree of helplessness was much more than somebody who might have had an ideal birth, if there is such a thing as ideal birth. So for me, helplessness has been something that I have learned to accept and find so much joy in. Not something bad to be helpless. To be aware of our limitations is a huge gift. That's my biggest learning from having Neil.
Yes. That's super beautiful. And really like when you said there's not such a perfect birth. Everyone, every single woman has its own journey and its own, personal gift to bring in the child as they can, as they deserve, and as the energy of the moment brings on. And humility, as you said, like when those moments of really like helplessness, like, oh my gosh, how do I can help this baby to stop crying? About I had my kids at home, water birds, and luckily it went well. But I didn't know I for a second anything can change. So this humility of receiving and bringing a life through our channel, our vagina, is just so big, and some people don't really put it there as it is. It's just a baby, it's just one birth. It's magic. This is pure divine energy, and sometimes I think people tend to forget that. So this is what I cherish a lot about our strength to bring in lives, to breathe oxygen the moment we take them out and care for them for the rest of our life. I connect completely with you.
Yeah, and the hackneyed poem that everybody probably here must have heard, that children come through you but are not yours, and they are an expression of life's longing for itself, and life with a capital L. And so it varies from what your life needed, was what your life was longing for self-expression through you, and what my life was needing for self expression through me. Probably what I needed was to just let go and be resting for a while, not be controlling. Maybe for you, it could be playing the dance of having more willpower and control. And it's all individual, joyful, experimenting designs, like thumbprints, are very, very personal self expressions, which is what it means to exist and dance in a collective consciousness, that there is no singular reality. We are in multiverse, that what you are experiencing, what each one of us is experiencing, has validity, and no emotion or no situation is singular. Richard Bach, one of my favorite authors, he always says that there's no disability that cannot be turned into treasure, and there's no treasure that cannot be turned into disability. And this has been one of the things that I have seen all my life, that been in a situation, felt something is like a disability, and we can scoop something beautiful out of it.
Exactly.
We hop on to how can we nurture our inner resilience?
I was thinking about this question, looking at myself when I was 3, 4 years old. Like, what do I say to myself if I'm 3 years old? How to, encounter life and paths that are coming to you. How can you get prepared? Because life can be tough sometimes, but it's not like it has to be tougher. So I think since a very young age, I've been really positive person. I've been very constructing everything. If there's, I grew up in Colombia in the 80s, so there was a lot of violence. There was a lot of chaos and a lot of negative energy around. So for me, it was really probably a strategy somehow to go against that. So that was like, no, I have to turn things positively. If I see something terrible, well, something positive must come out of it. So all this positivism, I think, has definitely built. And what I refer about positivism is thinking beautifully, thinking that, you know, the chaos that is around you somehow is teaching you, and it's not meant for you to be suffering, or not meant for you to be, you know, sad or depressed. It is actually building you up. But sometimes we are kind of blind, and we feel like, what is this happening to me? Why am I experiencing this? Why in the world am I put in this situation? But I believe solidly, and this is very me, that these are lessons that build up our strength, and we have to receive them. The tricky part is we don't know how to receive them. We don't know how to, or maybe we know, but we're just not very conscious about it. So for
Give me
me,
a
it's always,
story. Give me a story of where your resilience was tested and you applied that.
I
One
think when,
story.
yes, yes, yes. When I was going to my first field work as a biologist, I'm an environmental biologist, and I did my career, my bachelor's in Colombia. So when the teacher was saying, okay, this is the kit you have to bring, like water, insecticide, you need to bring this and that, like we have a whole list. And I was thinking, I'm from, you know, I'm from Bogota. I got this. We need to go to the store. We need to buy. We need to put the kit together. Let's get ready. And then we went off a little bit south of the capital. It wasn't like too wild, but wild enough to be outside of the comfort zone of the city. And I remember that there was like a rubber boot I had left outside my tent, and there was some spiders inside, and I didn't know about them. So I remember that there was rain, there was humidity, there was like it was so much out of my comfort zone. And I felt at some point like, is this really, really, really that I want to do for my career for the rest of my life? Or is this something that I wanted to cry? So I put my boots on and we were ready off to field work. And then I felt the spider inside my rubber boot. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna just quit. I didn't know what to do. I screamed. I think I cried probably. And the teacher was like, what's going on? I'm like, I have a huge thing. I believe it's a spider in my boot. And he was like, come on. I mean, you are a biologist. And then I don't know how, but this trick of come on. I was like, yeah, don't be a sissy, Jess. Come on, you got this. So I just walked a couple of steps, maybe 100 meters, with the spider in my boot. I was like, she's not bothering me. I'm not bothering her. We can do this together. So I think that really gave me the confidence to say, I mean, if I want to study this, I can just deal with it. But then, without knowing it, one of the spiders that I have in my boot was kind of dangerous. Was not like a lethal type of species, but if she bite me, if she could have bite me, it would have been a little bit of a mess. So very, very innocently or stupidly, I built up my resilience, thinking to myself, it's going to be beautiful. If you are to engage with nature, you need to leave nature engage with you, Jessica. So it was this building process of doing things. And I think since then, or very previously, like very difficult situations will let me think, okay, nothing about thinking what could be going wrong, but on the contrary, how can I be happy about this moment? How can be, you know, receiving some lesson about this moment, like being conscious about this. And then when I found out it was a dangerous spider, then I thought, oh, I have to take precautions. That's probably a good idea. But then the way of connecting, you know, connecting with myself, I think that was a click to let me know this was a difficult situation. I could have died. I could have ended up in the hospital, whatever. But I told myself, just create this energy, this aura around you. It will be protective. The spider is fine. I'm fine. We're just sharing a space. That's it. And as life goes on, and it's exactly with my kids, if something, you know, if they fell, they broke the bone, they broke the teeth, I don't know, some things, a lot of things happen with kids. I'm like, well, it must teach them something. It's not because it was a, you know, a course for them to go. So I think resilience and like bringing beautiful things in your mindset will bring beautiful things in life. I think that's my gift to talk about resilience.
Thank you for sharing a real life example with spiders. For me, when I think about this question, it's very practical for me that I think about life, that life has two movements. One, there is one sort of things that steal energy and one that enhances energy. And at every space, in every moment of crisis, there is a choice of investing in either things that deplete our energy or replenish our energy. And if I'm going through something challenging, I would just slow down and see what's happening here that's taking away my life, what's stealing my spark, and what's happening here that can support my life, my flame, my fire. What do I need? It's that inner conversation, and it's very simple. Say, for example, on the physical level, I know I can't take stale food that will steal my energy. In an emotional level, I know I can't take small talk after 5 minutes. So, I know what are my limitations, what steals away my energy. And so, according to me, resilience equals self awareness and conscious choice. That awareness of what builds on me or what takes away things from me, and commitment to working on that choice, because you can know a lot of things and not do it, because automatic habits also take over us. And it really helps to be coming from a culture like India. And I often joke about this, that you become more Indian when you leave India. So NRIs are the most Indian Indians. And I really feel that now I'm falling into that cliche that it's such a gift to have spirituality as a part of our culture.
Yeah.
Because even in the most dark, the deepest, darkest times, this awareness helps that I'm not just this body and I'm not just this mind. And there are thousands that came before me and thousands that will come after me. And this sense of continuity and interconnectedness of all things that I get naturally because I come from that culture is a huge gift for me. That's how I feel.
And that's super beautiful, and I think I resonate with what you're saying, and I was literally thinking it's about the environment as well, like whatever you are surrounded with, people, places, smells, it all this is it's the whole bubble that you need to feel how resilient you can be.
Absolutely.
And it's sometimes super noisy, like it can be so noisy, and as you just said, sometimes to stop, probably I'm not the type to stop and analyze. I'm all like, oh wow, this is a whole avenue of options, let's just jump into it. But sometimes, as you just said, it's embracing, intaking, and letting feel this cultural identity or this spiritual identity with the new environment where you are. And of course there's going to be clashes, of course there's going to be shocks, but once you discover yourself building up your own or integrating or completely out of picture, this is how you build your own path. And I love it, it's fascinating. And I went to the same cliches as you were, like the most Colombian out of Colombia of the whole planet. So exactly, it's all about environment at the end, whatever you are.
I think that's really important, especially for our dear participants that are coming from specifically those environments where they don't have choice over choosing the environments.
Mm-hmm.
So they are surrounded with realities that are non-desirable. And so then it's even more important to choose mental environment and to
Yes,
choose ways in which to preserve your sanity.
100%.
Because I know how common emotional abuse is in so many households. I know how patriarchy is so normalized in so many households.
Mm.
And so it's very important to have that inner sensitization of what's my roadmap, what's my plan. The best plan is to distance yourself from situations and spaces that are not conducive to your well-being. That's the best ideal plan. But if you don't have that choice, then it's very important to still choose where you have a choice, because there is some choice always there. And so then the next question, Jessica, how did your home culture prepare you for life? Your Colombian indigenous heritage, how did that prepare you for life?
Yeah, I mean, as I said in the beginning, coming from a country where, and this is very specific to countries like Colombia, where there has been, since colony times. I mean, we're talking about centuries ago, how the colonization of our own cultures has been suppressed and put in some way. I guess in India you understand the context of the English Empire coming and exchanging, of course, a lot of richness about all these processes. But I think the most beautiful thing about recognizing, or how my culture, my home culture, has built me up is to learn how to heal this past, this dark past of indigenous people has to be reduced, or they have to be discriminated, or if you're a mestizo like I am, you have certain spots in the society. If you are white with blue eyes or something like that, in my country you are more privileged. So I think the beautiful part of that, it's like it's such a vast rich culture that I completely identified not only with India but with the whole tropical belt. It's everywhere. It's in South America, it's in Africa, it's in yeah, in southern India, in all these Asian sort of like huge. It's so vast. I cannot even divide this with different countries, but it is the diversity, the richness of how you deal with everyday situations that has taught me how to navigate towards any of my situations as a mother, as a colleague, as a spouse, as gardener. Like all these different things, I think have brought me to build up my own pride. I think in my youth, my teenagers, like memories, I was really like feeling as every other teen, like not confident about yourself, or probably doubting about what do I look like, what do I have to eat, why do I have like all these trends. Now I firmly, proudly believe that my roots are the ones that are opening doors for me, opening walls into my eyes like before, because I accepted it in terms of not only my indigenous heritage from my dad side, but also from my grandma, from my mom's side, and all these different rituals, emotions, customs, appreciativeness for all the different fruits, for all the different kinds of weather, for all the different like I knew I struggled when I moved to the Nordics with the winter. That was like, what is going on? Like, is this even possible? So I think my like being Colombian, or like my in my home culture has really built me up with this colorful spirit, no matter what. So if it's dark, if it's rainy, if it's if if there's a sickness, a illness in the family or something like that, the colorfulness, the array of different options that came to me are always constant. And I do believe a lot in medicinal plants, before the Occidental and Western medicine. And I do my research always. Okay, is it a flu? Is it a tummy ache? Is it something like that? And this is sort of like the in Colombia we will call it something like multitasking, sort of like the word in Spanish will be something todera, like you can solve everything, you can do everything, you can paint everything. It's like this sort of like new way. And when I go to Colombia and I see people with very few resources, but they're still smiling, I feel proud about that. And when I come here back from Colombia or anywhere else, so I think this openness and this readiness to embrace everyone, that has stick with me forever. And I think this is what I really most appreciate from being from my culture and how has built up across my time in this planet yet.
Yeah, I can really relate to. I think there's some similarity with places which have a lot of sun, the tropicals,
Yes.
and the colors, the culinary, the cuisines, the fabric, everything nurtures the soul because I know how much just entering into a room with different colors can change how you're feeling. Changing different clothes, you feel different. And especially food is a huge part of how we feel. What we eat makes who we are. Is there a delay in my internet connection? Do you feel, is there any interruption? Are you able to hear me still? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Okay.
There is a slightly delay, yes.
Yeah, it seems so because of the shared bandwidth of recording, probably.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the biggest gift is awareness that there is another way of doing things. Because when you are in one culture, that way becomes the way.
Mm.
To know, but I know there is another way. And in India, we use the word jugaad. That whatever is the way, there is another underground way.
Yeah, that's exactly like Toledo. Exactly the same.
Yeah, so probably we are speaking about the same thing. So I
Mhm.
have seen that a lot. I have done that a lot. That I think brings so much refreshing energy in life because it gives
Mm.
hope, possibility, and I think I'm a big believer in looking at life with a sense of amusement. So it kind of gives you one a sense of amusement that one can do things in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Just show it. It's like I feel like just sometimes I mean, not being yourself and exploding every time, but as you just said, is this willingness of sharing this beautiful part of you.
The first example that came
Mm?
was not an example to be shared with the world. The second example that came seems to be a shareable example. So I'm sharing that one. So yesterday, my son wanted to eat mango ice cream because it was really hot, and the sun
Mm,
is really direct in Scandinavia, so it feels even more hot
mm.
than how I'm used to experiencing in
See.
India.
Yeah.
And so the smallest pack the supermarket sells is the one that has 12 pieces of ice cream, which I have no idea on in world why would that be the smallest. And
Mm,
from the place, the supermarket till home, there was like 100-meter distance, and he didn't want me to go to the home to keep the pack back.
no.
So either I had to melt all the ice creams or I had to do something about it. And so what we started doing, which we call in India langar seva, that we started giving an ice cream to anyone who looked like in the need of ice cream.
Nice.
Now this is very un-Swedish.
Like the most un-Swedish
This is the
thing you could
most
do.
un-Swedish thing you could do. Because first of all, you have to drill in the bubble that everyone over here has, the bubble that you are in your life, I am in my life, and we have to have a reason before we can break the bubble. And to say,
Yeah.
I have this ice cream, do you want one? Nothing. This is only possible because I have been in a culture where it was possible.
Yeah.
Yes. In such weathers, there would be wooden tables, people serving nice drinks, cold, refreshing drinks to strangers, and that's very normal.
Yeah.
And I have been a part of distributing those things, and I have been a part of consuming those things, so there is no ideological barrier to that. So the crux is alternative ways of thinking and this this awareness of oneness that we can do this. So separation consciousness versus connection consciousness that cultures like India, maybe Colombia, Spain, we have that sharing consciousness.
Yeah.
Um, Sweden also has a huge, like Scandinavia also has a huge sharing consciousness, but it's more institutional. Those roots
Yeah.
go through government, not directly through people. That's my experience.
Yeah. That is very true, and it's very material.
Tell me what has been Your biggest inspiration in tough times and influence?
Yeah, I think there's I made a list basically because there is like on one side I have my family members, my biggest of all ever, my grandmother. Like
Mm.
Rita Julia, she was such a strong woman. She just gave me so much strength, and she used to tell me all the time, and this is a Colombian saying, there's always calm after the storm. So he was always like, if I fell off, if I just hit myself, or if I wasn't happy about the result of the day, she will always say, don't rush it. There's gonna be calmness, you're gonna be rewarded, but let the storm go through. So that she was really one of my biggest influence in life, and I was very close to her in her last days, so I really love her. But as I said, my matriarchate, obviously I have had so many men influence in my life as well, but my mom, my sisters, my kids, my partners, the closest people I have, I really have the biggest influence. And more of the other side of who out there has given me my ideas. I think Jane Goodall, she's she's an yeah, ethno, I don't know what she is, anthropologist. I think she's an anthropologist, zoologist slash. She was the first woman ever sent to Africa to understand chimpanzees. And I remember I saw her in one National Geographic journal, probably when I was 7 years old, and I felt I want to be like her. I want to go to Africa and talk to primates and research them, and not research them, and be with them. So Jane Goodall has been one of my biggest influence, and she has an amazing podcast called Hope, that anyone that is interested, please listen to it, because it's so motherly love. Like, she commutes and she transmits to every single person is in this planet, and she's so lovely. She's this tiny little English woman. And another guy, Richard Evan
Probably would you
Schulte.
like to give a list of all this later
Yeah,
on to me and I can share, because not everybody would be able to note what you're saying and it might be useful for everyone to taste what you are talking about.
absolutely. Another guy, Richard Evan Schultes, he was a German anthropologist that came to the Amazon. That's my biggest interest in the Amazon, because through him, he was an ethnobotanist in the Second World War, and he was discovering all these unexplored world of traditions and plant usage and medicinal plants from indigenous peoples and their cultural richness. So he really brought me the attention to other people, Wade Davis, I can make the list, and some other people and women and men that are super devoted to exchange our or enrich our visions of not this westernized world, but the cosmological appreciation of life as well. So, and my biology teacher, when I was 6 years old, he told me, you need to be a biologist. You are just shining. This is you. You have to." And that stick to my mind. Jose Bejarano, I love you wherever you are now. And he really put me through a path of believing in myself. So I think it's a long list, but
Mhm.
yeah, these are my list, and I will share the links for sure.
Thank you. I can sense the passion in our list.
Yeah, I need to pick something. Yes.
Yeah. So if I start going with my list, I don't know how much time would it take me. So I will not give any list, but I would say that there is one common factor in wherever I find inspiration, and that is when I see someone being true to themselves, and when I see somebody living life from their source. Um, and I have seen that so many times in my coaching clients, in most of the participants here that I have the privilege to have worked with. I've seen choices, uncomfortable choices being made just because they are true choices. So anytime I find someone who is taking care of their candle, the flame inside, it inspires me. It gives me a lot of expansiveness. And the second thing that inspires me a lot is this awareness that I can give only who I am to someone else, specifically as a parent, as a mother. This awareness that whatever dilemmas I can integrate in life, in my own self, I can gift that much integration to my son. So, my journey has a purpose that is double fold, which is one, that it can expand my inner peace. Second, that it will create a role model for those that are around me. I'm talking specifically about the coaching clients, my child, because it's like a family. And and I really, really believe that the biggest impact that we can make in life is who we become. Not how many books we write, not how many papers we publish, not how many places we visit, but who we become, the consciousness that we become. And that's my biggest gift from my culture, as in terms of even heritage, that I believe that the purpose of our life is evolution of consciousness. So even if I'm experiencing a very difficult moment, thankfully, my husband also comes from the same ideological commitment and belief system. He tends to remind me, and we tend to remind each other, that this is churning an evolution in us. And there is a saying that is inspired from Sri Aurobindo, which says that whatever difficult that you're experiencing, this is the shortcut. This is the
Yeah.
shortcut to divine. Not that I want more difficult times in my life, but when I get them, then it helps to remember that this is like this spring that's being pressed, and then the jump in evolution would also be very high. That because now the momentum, the crushing is high, the jump will also be very high. Influences and inspiration for me are very universal. I find when I see something beautiful, when I see someone dressed beautifully, it expands my heart. And my husband is very aware, because he says, "You're one of those women who looks at other women and says she is well dressed."
Nice.
Probably last question, which is, what has helped you in survive in Scandinavia, which is quite different in comparison to what you're used to? And this time I will answer first.
Go for it.
So my past has been of teaching, being an assistant professor, of having taught literature and counseling and guidance. And in one of the courses, we had this beautiful book called The Shadow Lines by Amitav Ghosh. And this book is divided into two parts. It's called Going Away and Coming Home. Going Away and Coming Home. These are the two parts. And I think that all relationships, all experiences of migration, be it on a country level, be it in India as it is that you marry into another family level, have these two processes, that you move, you go away, and you have to learn to come home to yourself inside of you. And so I feel that being here now, it's my second year of being in Scandinavia. Before this, I have lived in Germany. I've realized that, like a migratory bird, one gets many conditions that are really, really good for nurturing oneself, that were probably not that readily available in the home country. So one has to learn to juice that and acknowledge the goodness of one where one is. And the second is, it brings a lot of clarity on who one is, who I am, and who I'm not. So then the clarity on who I am, who I want to become, and who I'm not willing to become, and I am not. This has been one of my biggest strengths in integrating myself, not just in Scandinavia, but even, if I visit my husband's family, there's a different culture. He's from a different state. They come from a different ideological culture. So if I know who I am and who I'm not, it's easier for me to navigate those differences. It's only when I forget who I am, then there is a challenge of self-loss and self-recovery later on. So I specifically wanted to say this because I know some of the people who will be watching it and are watching it experience this on a different level, probably not on a country level, but on the level of, say, being in a different zone. So, for example, you might go to a place where people have different values than what you value in life. So then it's not about having a hierarchical view of life, that what is better and what is not better. It's about knowing what serves you and what doesn't. So that has been a huge thing for me. Over to you.
Nice, really nice. I'm gonna be very short because I really want to share with others as well. And as you, I think the whole Scandinavian journey, it's about, yeah, 16 years ago I moved here, and obviously I'm 100% Colombian. My partner is half Colombian, half Danish, but most of his life he lived in Denmark. So we were this super opposite kind of yin yang kind of thing when we met, and like through the years and through life we have literally, yeah, grow together. But I can come up very easily, and what my biggest feeling was about how to get to this Scandinavian mode. It reminds me vividly the Metamorphosis book from Franz Kafka, where you have this alienation of, putting yourself, caring for other people, caring for the benefit of how everyone is gonna, eat, sleep, dance, everything. Like all this effort that you have to put in putting everyone, even though it's not your culture, to put in everyone, not because you have to please them, but putting everyone in a good, comfortable place. But at the same time, or behind the curtains, I felt, wow, this is such a metamorphosis. I couldn't accept, the language barrier in the beginning. Is like Danish is one of the most difficult languages out there, and it's such a poor language in terms of how expressive things can be compared to my Spanish, my Latin roots, where you can just, extremely go magical realism from Gabriel Garcia Marquez and 100 Years of Solitude, where you can just describe a sunny day in 3 hours. And that alienation of myself, of cutting my own vocabulary, putting myself in, the Scandinavian way, the hygge, as they call it here in Denmark, and in Sweden, the musit. All this metamorphosis was painful in so many ways, but in some other ways was super recharging and reviving. So I think with the time, obviously, in the beginning, the winter was terrible. It was like, what is going on? My body, my DNA, my vitamin D reserves were all clashing and making noise. After some years, I was like, well, this is not bad. After 10 years, well, this is it. There's nothing to do about it. To the point that today I'm like, let's go snowboarding. Let's enjoy snow. It's dark, it's cold, but it's life. So it's gradually, but it doesn't mean that it has to take 16 years or 1 year or 3 years. But it is definitely, you have to be very willing to explore yourself and accept the fact that you cannot change things. And the Scandinavian way of life, in many ways, when they're not really good to be friends. I'm not saying, and this is very general, but once you get a friendship with one of a real Nordic people, it's like friends for life. The loyalty they have in their culture is amazing. But to build up, to reach up that loyalty, that takes effort, that takes language, that takes so many layers.
There are a lot of people now listening to us. They're like, we are not ever going to Scandinavia. Never
It's
relocate.
cold, it's rainy, and no, it's as everywhere else. And I feel whatever my partner, my kids, and myself we are, it's home. You tend to learn this. But of course, there's so many good things, but there are obviously many layers of the welfare system, of how the state is, above everything. And I mean, sometimes people can just get reset and move on in their own life. I feel a lot of Scandinavians are what just one way. Meanwhile, Latin Americans, we can be too many ways. So either extreme is not pretty nice, I would say. But in general, all in all, it's a metamorphosis. for sure.
Mm,
Like
mm,
it's
mm.
it's wonderful, but it has all colors and all different, levels of questioning and
Yeah.
abstractness and
Yeah,
etc.
yeah, absolutely. How I have learned to see it is that every soil in the world has a nutrient that I need.
Mm,
So if I am on Scandinavian soil, it has something that serves me. If I'm on the Indian soil, it has something that serves me. And it's rich and diverse, and I have a part of everyone that I meet. So no matter which country, when I have a Scandinavian in me, a Spanish in me, a German in me, because I have those times when I behave in a way that are culturally not Indian at all. So that has really helped me see myself as in a more universal way, and brought more humanity and universality to my individuality.
yeah, yeah, and I think our processes as migrants are very good to feel our authenticity as well. Like how authentic you can be to your own, to be with everyone else. It's super important to accept that you are whoever you are, with all the beautiful things and all the darkness.
At the
Um,
end of the day, I definitely feel it's a hugely privileged place to be, in terms of that a migrant always, not always, but the ones we are talking about right now have a
um,
choice to relocate.
yeah,
So
that's yeah,
we have broken the inertia.
yeah,
We know, we have tasted different waters now, and
yeah.
that experiential treasure is really privileged. It's privileged to know that.
Exactly, and I can close up with what you said in the beginning. Humility. It's all in all what you have to go through life. That's so important.
I remember when we were talking about this conversation, the keywords that we had started off were roots and wings, that we
Yeah.
need roots and we need wings. So I think roots is humility and wings are is perseverance to still keep growing, keep growing.
Excellent
And
way of putting
with
it.
that, we have managed to cover the questions in some way. And I want to take a moment to just be with ourselves, come back to ourselves, see how you're feeling, if your body needs a stretch, if you need to just stand and just stretch your body, if you need to take a breath. Just look around in the room, look at three things that you can see. I can see the guitar, the light, and the poster of our talk. Three things that you can hear. I can hear my voice, can hear the clock, can hear my breath, and move three parts of your body. So now I invite Rebecca, Kanu, Ritika, anybody who wants to switch on their video, Mitika, Anjali, and share, and then we'll close today's session. Hi, Ritika.
Hi, first of all, thank you very, very much, Charnita, for being as wonderful uh, as you both are. Especially, of course, lot of love to Charnita. It has always been such a pleasure and eye opener and heart opener and brain opener to hear you on any topic. So it's immense pleasure to hear you actually. So yeah, of course, today also a lot of insights and different perspectives. To sum up in a line or two about my journey as a mother, I would say, as I typed already as well, that it feels it as like the biggest responsibility due to, of course, the kind of environment I have had. But it does feel like the biggest purpose of life as well. It gives a lot of hope to, just continue um, being your best version. And if you can, uh, because usually all of us, at least for someone like me, the biggest purpose feel to be inspiring, be inspired with all the goods in the world. So if this can start from home, from having somebody of your own, So that actually does feel really good. But of course, gets overwhelming also at times. As we understand, life can get tough at times, and through all the challenging times, what has been the coping mechanism for both of you individually to manage your role of a mother, uh, even when you yourself don't feel too much in your colors at that moment, and when you feel a little lost or disturbed or XYZ emotions of turmoil you are going through in life. So, in those moments, how do you choose to become a conscious mother for a child? So maybe I'd like to learn a thing or two from that.
Super beautiful question, Ritika. Thank you so much. To be honest, to look at the eyes of my kids, that's the click. That's that's the most powerful ever boost of whatever energy, explosive, universal consciousness. It's open. That's when I really like just look at the eyes of my kids. I know it's not gonna solve, but I gain so much energy and I gain my own knowledge to tell myself, I mean, this is why you're here, because you are, their mother and they're teaching you something. So listen, look at them. This is my biggest honest answer.
Thank you. Sounds good.
If I look at the eyes of my child when I'm feeling distressed, depressed, they do nothing to me. I just feel more tired that I have more work. So this doesn't work at all for me. What works for me is to look into my eyes and see how can I give myself the spark? How can I mother myself? And I know from experience of being with myself for over 3 decades, close to 4 now, is that I need stillness, silence, solitude to reconnect with my song. And if I get that, I can be there for any role. So, one of the things that I wanted for Mother's Day was a break for 6 to 10 to 12, as many hours for motherhood. So, I said to my husband, this is the gift I want. No flowers, no chocolates, nothing. If you want to bring that, you're welcome to. But it brings me so much awe to realize that how much better I can do my work if I get some distance from it for some time.
I think
Valid.
it resonates a lot with me too, because I also feel even though we have these roles to play in our life, but we can't take care of any role well if we don't, we lose the connection with ourselves, or if we are at loss of our own self for XYZ reason.
Thank you for your time, your short stories. She had to leave, had to be with Nivea. Is Rebecca your connection, Jessica?
Yes, she's actually my best friend in Denmark.
Oh, great to know that.
I want to add to that what you said last. I think health is something that we as mothers underestimate. We do so much. We have so much in our plates, and I think exercising, being healthy, eating healthy, like all the cliches, that it's just so important, because if you're not healthy in 100% battery, you will not be able to provide to your kids or anyone else. And obviously behind that curtain, it's a lot of exercise, meditation, consciousness work, eating healthy, cleansing even the body, our bodies, seeing dance. I'm a professional dancer. I dance constantly. And I think I didn't mention it, but if I wouldn't be the dancer that I am, I think I would manage life in a very different way. So dancing copes with all the layers as well of how
Movement is really important. And I
mm.
loved what Kanu has written in the chat. She said that motherhood just came out of the syllabus for me and changed me and still is changing me. Yes, metamorphosis. I love that because I also really relate to the degree of growth and evolution it can bring because you can't predict the journey at all.
Exactly. So beautiful comments. Yeah.
So last couple of minutes for anyone to say anything.
Just one last thing as well. So I think this has been really a good concept and initiative from your side to come up with this theme, because this is also very important for us mothers to hold space for each other, to talk about these difficult emotions and to get a platform wherein we learn from each other as well, that how can we, what we go through, is it valid, does it make sense, and all of that. So that really feels really important.
Yeah,
So
thank
thank
you
you for
for
doing it.
saying that. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I 100% believe in this because when I was having pregnancy during COVID, I was feeling like, where are other mothers? Where I need
Mm.
other mothers. I need people who have similar bodies and similar experiences and are talking about it. Anjali, well.
Ma'am, you are looking so, so beautiful. And I feel so grateful that, I'm part of this conversation. Like, it feels like कितनी सारी conditioning खत्म हो गई कि that I am part of this conversation. And I see myself as a woman, the wise parts of me, and not that girl from that place. So it was a very nurturing conversation.
Wonderful to hear your
So
being
beautiful.
that I am the person from that space, but also not all of it anymore. The conditioning of patriarchy and all of that.
Super beautiful.
Just last few seconds of self-nurturing as a reminder that the best gift you can give people around you is a blossoming version of yourself,
Yes.
not a wilted version, but a well-watered, well sun-given, healthy version of you. And with that, we will end with a short 15-second exercise where I invite you to look at yourself, maybe right into the screen that you are right now in or in front of the mirror, and just offer yourself deep looking as if you are your own daughter
Mhm.
and you are your own mother, your own grandmother, your own granddaughter. How powerful it is to be your own creation, your own creator, your own preserver, your own destroyer, all of it inside you. And with the power of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, creation, destruction, preservation right inside your womb, in your heart, in your mind, in your body. And it's my deepest wish that you remember how powerful you are and how sensitive you are. And your sensitivity is your power. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. A pleasure.
Thank